All right, let's dive into one of the wildest, most fascinating, and honestly, most confusing ideas out there: time travel. We're going to take a quick tour through the mathematical bewilderments and the sheer paradoxes that make thinking about the fourth dimension so much fun, all inspired by the work of the great Martin Gardner. So, where does this whole thing really kick off? Well, you can point to this incredible idea from H.G. Wells in The Time Machine. And what's just nuts is that he wrote this a full 10 years before Einstein even published his first paper on relativity. He was already imagining time as just another dimension, like a road that we're all constantly moving along. And you know what? Wells was dead on. What he was describing is basically what physicists today call a world line. Think about it like this. If you could somehow step outside of space-time and look at your own life, you'd see everything: your past, your present, your future, all laid out at once, like a long, tangled piece of string. Our consciousness is just the part that crawls along that string, one moment at a time.
Right, that is the billion-dollar question. If time is just a road, why can't we just, pull a U-turn? Well, the second you start to seriously think about traveling backward, you slam headfirst into a solid wall of logical nightmares.
This is where the basic rules of our universe, cause and effect, start to just completely fall apart. We're talking about paradoxes so deep that they make a trip to the past seem not just physically hard, but logically impossible. Okay, check out this story. It's a perfect example of what we call a causal loop. So a scientist zips 500 years into the future. While he's there, he finds this amazing statue of himself, celebrating him as the first time traveler. So he thinks, wow, I gotta have this. Brings it back to his own time, where it's put on display in his honor, which of course means it's now waiting there for him to find 500 years in the future. So here's the question: who or when was the statue actually sculpted? It seems to exist without ever having been made.
And get this, it doesn't even have to be a physical object like a statue. The paradoxes get even weirder when you just talk about sending a simple message back in time. Physicists have theorized about these faster-than-light particles called tachyons. And according to relativity, if they existed, they wouldn't just be going super fast, they'd actually be traveling backward in time.
Okay, so stick with me on this thought experiment. You've got two physicists, Jones and Alpha. Jones makes a promise. He will send a tachyonic message at exactly 3 o'clock if and only if he has not received a reply from Alpha by 1 o'clock. Meanwhile, Alpha's job is simple. If he gets a message, he replies instantly. But since his reply travels back in time, it arrives before 1 o'clock. So if Jones is going to send the message, the reply shows up early, which means the condition for him sending it, not receiving a reply, is broken. So he can't send it. And that leads to this beautiful, brain-breaking conclusion from the physicists who came up with this. It's a perfect, inescapable contradiction. It's a scenario that literally cannot happen in a universe that follows the rules of logic.
You know, this famous little limerick actually sums up the whole weirdness of it perfectly. Going faster than light isn't just about getting somewhere quickly, it's about literally rewinding the clock.
So it really seems like we've backed ourselves into a corner here, right? Causality just says, nope, not allowed. But what if there's a loophole? What if the universe has an escape clause that's even stranger than time travel itself? And that brings us to this mind-bending concept that pops up in quantum mechanics, the idea of forking paths in time. It's sometimes called the many worlds interpretation, and it is a wild ride. Here is the key, the absolute game changer. What if, when you go back in time, you don't actually rewrite your own history? What if, instead, you cause reality itself to split in two, creating a brand new timeline? Let's use that classic go back and kill your younger self paradox. So you travel back from, let's call it Universe 1. The instant you do something to change the past, the universe splits. Your original timeline, Universe 1, just keeps on going, except now you've mysteriously vanished from it. And you are now standing in Universe 2, a totally new reality where you are basically an alien from another dimension who just showed up. See how that just neatly sidesteps the whole problem? There's no contradiction. You didn't erase yourself from existence because the you that existed came from a different timeline. You've just jumped from your world line onto a completely new one. Causality is saved? But okay, if you thought that was a lot to take in, hold on, because this whole idea of branching universes has one final implication that is just staggering. Just let that sink in for a second. This theory says this isn't some rare event that only happens when a time machine is involved. No, the universe is splitting, constantly. Every tiny quantum event, every particle that zigs instead of zags, is splitting our reality into a near infinite number of copies, every single moment of every single day.
And that leaves us with one final kind of personal question to chew on. If this theory is true, then there are countless versions of you out there living in realities that just split off from this one moments ago. So, which one are you?